Based upon the title of this video, you're going to presume I am going to be criticising Trent Alexander Arnold. I'll be quite clear, I don't think, and I know a lot of other people think the same, I don't think Trent Alexander Arnold is the strongest defender England have available at right back. There is no doubt though his attacking talent going forward is probably the best in the world from that position, but Trent's defensive frailties are not the only reason why I don't think he should be included in Southgate's World Cup squad. So it's no secret at all that Trent Alexander Arnold has been criticised recently for his defensive performances. He was criticised for his role within the Champions League final, which led to Real Madrid's one and only winning goal. He has also been criticised at the start of the current season for some of his performances, and his defensive frailties have been highlighted, should we say. Trent, though, is clearly a remarkable player. Last season, playing at right back, he assisted 12 times in the league, second only behind Mo Salah. If you're not English, particularly if you're not living in England, you would be looking at the England national team, Southgate, me, anyone who's criticising Trent or suggesting that he doesn't play for England as a bit mad. I can see how that would look bizarre in the outside world. But Trent and England and Southgate is a complicated mix. There's been a lot of history going off, and obviously we don't know the full stories behind it all. The facts are, though, that since his debut in 2018, Trent Alexander-Arnold has only played 17 times for England. Given his stature within the game, his performances for Liverpool over that same period, it doesn't match that he has played so few games for England within that space of time. However, this comes on to my first issue with Trent and the England national team. He has been picked numerous times by Southgate within his squads. On numerous times, he has pulled out of those squads. Most recently, he pulled out of the Ivory Coast Switzerland squad when we were due to play those two in a friendly earlier this year. You may say they're only friendlies, but for someone who hasn't played many games for England, who was essentially dropped not too long back and then returned for the Euros and missed the Euros through injury, you would have thought he would have been eager to get that three-line shirt back on. He pulled out with injury and pretty much returned to Liverpool soon after that international break. Make of that as what you will. But it isn't the first time that Trent Alexander-Arnold has pulled out of squads only to appear to return to Liverpool at the first immediate opportunity. Going back then even to the past previous 4 games for the UEFA Nations League, he was actually picked for the squad for those games, but only committed to playing once. So that means in the past 7 games, Trent Alexander-Arnold has been chosen by Gareth Southgate within his squad, but has only made himself available for one of those. So you have got to start to question his commitment. I know fans will say those 4 games at the end of last season was at the back of a very long and extensive season with Liverpool, but he wasn't the only player to have a long season. Given his history with England, given the fact that he's missed a lot of games, given the fact that there's not many games now to the World Cup, you'd have thought he would have committed to playing a little bit more for England. I have my doubts about his commitment to the national team. I'm not saying he's fabricated all of his injuries in the past, but some are certainly suspicious, particularly given the fact that he very rarely, or if ever, seems to be injured for Liverpool. So personally, from my perspective, I really do question, and I have questioned it in the past, his commitment to the Three Lions. But when you then look at the games that he has managed to play in, even going back to the last game against Hungary, away in Hungary, when we lost 1-0 on the night, Trent Alexander-Arnold was horrendous. He was so poor. And I'm really not over-exaggerating that. Go back and watch the game. All of the squad were poor, granted, but Trent was particularly woeful. I think he was probably one of our worst players on the night, if not the worst. His strength that he has for Liverpool, his set pieces, obviously his attacking talent, on the night for England was just dreadful. He offered nothing going forward, and I can't recall in any of his previous 17 caps a particular performance that stood out. So he's not really performed for England. He cannot genuinely say, or no one can genuinely believe that he has done. So his attitude to wearing the shirt as well on the pitch, I don't think has been fully committed. And this brings me to my final point. Southgate seems to be trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. We do not play the way Liverpool play as an England national team. Southgate has continuously struggled to find a position and a place for Trent within this team. He has even tried in the past playing him in midfield, if you can remember. That proved very unsuccessful and Southgate was roundly criticised for that, including by Klopp himself. At right back then, we all know that Southgate likes to start with a solid defensive base. Rightly or wrongly, whatever you may believe on Southgate's tactics, that is what he likes to do. We have already established, and I think even the most die-hard Trent fans would suggest, that in an England shirt, from a defensive perspective, he is not our strongest right back. There is no doubt in his talent going forward. He is our best attacking fullback by far. But from a defensive perspective, he isn't as strong as a couple of other players. It's therefore difficult for Southgate to include him in the system that he likes to play. There doesn't appear to be a natural place for Trent within this squad. Is he good enough to build a squad around? I don't think so. I really don't. As good of a season as he's had, and as good of a player as he is not a player to build a team around. Overall, I think his commitment to the England national team when he's played has been poor. I think he's pulled out of too many squads when injuries I think have been a little bit doubtful, and I don't think he fits within the system that we play. I would therefore prefer Southgate not to pick 4 or 5 right backs like he attempted to do at the Euros. Particularly in that place in the pitch, we've got substantial cover. I don't believe Trent should therefore be going to the World Cup. He just does not fit with what we play, and I don't think it's the commitment we need. It may be this Liverpool before England mentality that I know a lot of Liverpool fans have with the national team. That may have something to do with it, but I would much prefer Southgate to pick a squad player that would benefit in areas of the park where we're not as fully stocked. Let's say in central midfield or at left back. So, very controversial opinion. I want to know your thoughts below. Do you agree with me? Would you take Trent Alexander Arnold? Let me know in the comments below. I think it's going to be, again, another tough decision for Southgate coming up into the World Cup. I think he will take him as it stands, but I don't think he should. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you on the next video.